intestine that doesn't exist up here. I would work the large intestine in the face on somebody whom I was only working in side position. But if they can be in supine at all, I would tend to do it on the face in supine, just because it's easier. I can work here, but you can see I'm having to use my fingers. It's not such an efficient position, but it is possible. So if my client can only lie in side position, I will do that. But now I can come to the neck. Very hard to work lung comfortably in this position, too far around. You don't want to be, if I work like this arm is not supported, so it's going to feel pokey. So unless you've got, actually, D can probably manage this because he's got long thumbs. But even then, to work around like that it's not a great position really. So I might, do something like that if I was desperate, if I really wanted to work the lung. But I've never done that before in that way until that moment. So I've just made just thinking, I'm sure there is always a way, but it's not the position of choice. Okay, that's the thing. So we're looking for the most efficient way of working. Great position for working the large intestine in the neck. Very nice position for working the large intestine in the neck. And we now know, don't we, that if we work the large intestine in the neck thinking elimination, she's going to have to get up and go for a poo.
That might possibly be her home and
that's fine. You've got to go, you've got to go. Okay. So, just doing that one, I'm catching my breath. Okay. Do you know how to scoot around and work the top of the shoulder? Are you familiar with that technique? Yeah. So this is what you've done already. Classic, you've done this already. This is technique you're familiar with. Now, the bit that you're perhaps less familiar with is this way of working with the arm abducted. I do mean that, abducted. Okay. So we found, didn't we, in that little tracing exercise, that this is the position, a good position for getting to the lung and the large intestine, given a certain degree of flexibility in the shoulders. There are some people for whom this isn't going to be possible. For those of us that it is possible, we need to make sure we don't overstretch them, don't start wrenching them around. So we want to maintain the integrity of the surface. If I start to pull them back, that's possibly overstraining them. I need to give them support. Now, some people don't like this position. They feel it's a bit too intimate in some ways. Some people don't like that. A lot of people can't even come that far back anyway. But there is an intermediate position, which is this, where the arm is between you and them. So that you can make that call depending on what's going on with your shoulder, their shoulder, we sometimes call it, and your general how you feel about this person. But this is the easiest way to get to the lung. What you have to do is you have to support behind the shoulder. This is really, really important. If you don't, you're likely to overstretch and strain that joint. So I need to support, and for me this is comfortable. I anchor my elbow on the knee, so now I can work with my body weight. I can work between the chest and the body and the shoulder. So the first part, that's how I'd work. I'd work with the hands together. And if I'm then going to go into thumbing, I've now used this as a support. So this hand is supporting her, it's keeping the shoulder stable. So I tend to do it for just the first half of the arm because you end up sort of throttling yourself if you're not careful. So, and it's this opening which tends to feel so powerful and so yummy anyway. So that would be how I tend to just work up to lung 5. And then I would tend to move the arm around and just finish with my fingers underneath. So not the best position in terms of using my body weight, but mostly it's too uncomfortable to do it to go right down to the end in that other position.
But it feels nice for the receiver.
It feels not, but it's the opening that's so good. Yes, it's not so important when I get to the end. As I said, it's that first part which I think gives the power to the technique. But we can also work the large intestine. One of the nice ways of working the large intestine is you can work with your forearm. So again, you have to stabilise with the arm behind, with the hand behind. So you can even work with the elbow. I've been working a lot more with my elbow since I broke my arm. It's been great. I can work with my thumb.
Would you use the elbow instead of the thumb or instead of the palming?
Between the palming and the thumbing.
Right.
It's sort of bigger than it's more powerful than a palming, and it's a bit more focused than a palming, but it's more general than a thumb.
Okay. So then you wouldn't bother thumbing afterwards, you just do the... You could do all three. You wouldn't have to. You wouldn't.
No. Those are decisions which you can make on the hoof, really, you know. You don't spend too long on anything, but sometimes you might want to go back. So what might happen in practice might be that I would maybe do palm to get the general area of the land. Think, I want to work a bit more strongly. So I might do that. Then I might want to go back to a certain place, and that's what I would tend to do. And I was thinking, well, if that's comfortable, if I'm getting into where I want to get, then I wouldn't bother to plan.
Okay.
I wouldn't use the elbow on the lower arm. There's something about this part of the body which welcomes the elbow because it's quite big and a lot of people. It's an area which doesn't get much attention normally as well, and I think
you don't want the elbow where it's bony, do you?
You don't want the elbow. You don't want the elbow where it's bony. So but come the lower arm, I would tend to use palm and thumb. So yes, I probably wouldn't do all three, but I might occasionally. I don't want to say never, you know. You can work with your knuckles like we did. But this, you can see there's an instability here. If you're going to work with your knuckles, you have to make sure you're stabilising the arm. I'm sure it's since I broke my arm I've been using my thumb, I've been using different techniques because I was able to do that long before I could use my thumb. So I've noticed it's really changed this last couple of months I've been working quite a different way, which has been quite liberating in a sense. But whatever technique you're doing, they need to be stable. So you have to do whatever's necessary to keep them stable. And the side position is inherently a bit unstable. So you can see whenever I move down here, I always put my leg in the back. Not that it's holding her up, but she knows it's there to stop her falling over. If I take that away,
it feels empty.
She's a bit abandoned. So it's not that I'm physically doing anything, but it's just enough for her to know that I'm there. You can do all the work here, the elbow and the wrist. You can work the hand in this position. Normally we do it in supine, but you can do all the work. So working with Lucy, working with someone with this degree of stage of pregnancy, I wouldn't have her on the back for a long tour, but I can do everything here that I can do in supine as well. You do a nice stretch. Of course, all the rotations and stretches that you would normally do as well. Hard to get to the lung in this position on the chest. Yeah, it's a bit, you have definitely got the boob. It's really difficult to get to the central part. You could get to the lower part maybe. You can maybe work with it flat as the elbow into that part under the collarbone. But what you can really do is get to the large intestine and the torso. This is actually the easiest and most efficient way of getting to the large intestine in the first part. So you take the arm behind and your angle is down. So remember I talked about the side of the body, and it's the most anterior part of the side, the front of the side of the body there. Just down as far as the waist. And that's what I tend to use. I tend to use, I just wanted to use my knuckles. No, I don't use my knuckles. I tend to just use the side of the body, side of the hand. Elbow on ribs, too much there usually. So that's what would be my choice. Down to the waist, and then of course it crosses to the back. So I can put her on my way now. Put it back where I found it. And I can work now. So now it's a new phase. It's like I have to find a different way of working, a new position. So rather than thinking, okay, what am I going to do now? I'm kind of leaning on her and playing about a bit whilst I think, oh, where is it? Where is it? Oh yes, it's just behind there. So I can palm it. I can do that now, just. See, that's actually, I can still not really do it fully. So, but that is really very easy for me now.
So a certain order that you need to do it, would you do like arm, and then work down? Would you do the whole channel and then the other channel?
No, very good question. I would do everything I can on one part and then everything I can and then everything I can. Yeah, I don't like the idea of doing one and going back. It just feels, as a receiver, I think it feels a bit clunky, to be honest. I think it's much better to do, lung, large intestine on the arm, large intestine on the torso, and then come into the lower part. Yeah. So the channel runs behind, posterior to the gallbladder, and this is a really nice position. Now because she's lying with the legs one on top of the other, I'm just going to stabilise the front there so that I can not push her leg, because if I don't do that she's just going to roll over. So I'm just stabilising. But again, still notice that I'm keeping a connection. This is a large intestine. It's on the back of the side of the leg. Okay. Yeah, but let's do one at a time. So I'm doing large intestine, back of the side of the leg, and I'm keeping my hand here on the hip, and I'm taking it down the side of the foot and the anterior part of the ball of the foot. The lung is on the back of the leg. So that was not so clear yet, I think, and that's what we're going to do another little exercise to, I hope to help you get an experience of that. To be honest, I really don't work the lung in the buttock, even though it's written on the charts. I really just work it, I pick it up in the back of the leg. So it's the same technique as you would have been using to do bladder in the back of the leg, in side position. So I need to come right down and palm. And again, I'm moving that because if I don't, I'm inclined, it feels a bit unstable, so I like to come right down and give her that good support at the front. Once I get to the lower part, it's not such an issue.
Could you use your knee in the back of the
Not so easy in this position. There is a way of doing it, but it's a bit awkward. It involves doing that. Not yet, not this week. So you can use your thumb. So you do whatever you normally do to keep somebody stable. I don't like to use bolsters because I get irritated with having to move them around, given that I can just use my arm. For me, I'd much rather just use what I've got to hand, because that means I can move around and I can get that and I can kind of get on. I've got things to do. I'm moving bolsters around. But some people like bolsters. It's whatever you like. It's whatever works for you, really. It is whatever works for you. Whatever makes you and them